Welcome back. Today's video is a little mix of a few things. A little bit of hi-fi passion, a little bit of decisions, and a little bit of comedic fun. First, we're going to dive into the latest open baffles, the silver bugs. Then I want to discuss a little bit about a decision. Should you upgrade your DAC first or your preamp? And lastly, there's a little bit of a light-hearted roasting of a sample of 13 different hi-fi YouTubers that I love to watch on a regular basis, and I'm just going to have a little bit of fun with them. So disclaimer, the roasting of the YouTubers that I'm going to reference, I love and learn from all of these individuals. So if what I say offends you, make sure you simply write your emotions down in the comments below, and that'll help you feel better. All right, now let's dive in to the silver bugs.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. I don't think so. No, 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 no. Maybe someday you'll have it your way. Maybe someday it'll all work out into...
If you're new to the channel, I've been building open baffle speakers for several years now. Hold on a second. You can't just tell everybody you're about to roast other YouTubers and then start talking about your plywood speakers. Come on. Let's hear it. Let's hear the trash talk. Let's hear you beat up the other YouTubers who are more successful than you are. Why should you watch Ron at New Record Day? Let me tell you why. Because he's got the second best audio shed. Plus, he can grow a beard like Santa Claus in about a day. And if you want to get caught up on my journey so far, have a look at the playlist, linked in the video below. And there's a bunch of videos that is just me cataloging my journey so far. So the journey's led me today to what I'm now calling the silver bugs, which I think is the equivalency of the ninth version. I still have the 6th or 7th version of them, I forget now, that are right next to me here. And then from the version that was there leads me to the version that you see right here, which I had called the Ladybugs. And I got this inspiration from Steve at Deckware, trying speakers on an angle. This one is around a 39-40 degree angle, and the driver is up firing. All this is just a piece of plywood with a 8-inch full range driver. Right now this is off. This was an experiment to see if adding a tweeter would help. And the results I got from this type of design was that I was getting such a gorgeous soundstage. It was extremely floaty, very three-dimensional, and you had absolutely no sense at any moment that any sound or instrument was coming from these drivers. Everything was beautifully floating in the room. But it had some issues. The quality and warmth in the mid-range that I wanted, and the impact wasn't felt as much as it was with these guys right here. So, yeah. Isn't that a gluten disease? What? No, you're thinking of celiac. Celiac is an autoimmune disease, which is caused by gluten. So this guy can't eat gluten? No. Dude, you don't pay attention. It's audiophiliac, not audioceliac. Philia, the suffix. Here, look at the definition. Denoting fondness, especially an abnormal love for a specific thing. So what's the aphiliac of? Speakers? I loved the impact and feel of these speakers, but I wanted the soundstage of these speakers. Unfortunately, I did an attempt of using the big F15 in this setup, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. They just sounded a little too muffled. And then trying to match a tweeter with them also felt like a pain in the butt. It never felt fluid. It never felt real. But then using these guys, it's a different driver. This was the Fast 8. Kind of lost that a little bit. I got the soundstage, which I was from the design, but I lost that meatiness and the tone and the feel of the instruments and the voices. What if I try a more expensive version of drivers? Enter the Silver 10s. Now that's my kind of channel, man. Yeah, we sit around, we talk about our problems. It's not about drinking. Yet another suffix. Cheers. It's not the same as alcoholics. I know. Why do you gotta keep treating me like I'm such an idiot, man? Like, you do this all the fucking time, man. Even in your YouTube channel. You always think like you're better than us. Stop. No, I don't. So, but can we just get back to Gene and Audioholics? Fine. Gene's awesome. But I really wouldn't want to arm wrestle that guy. Hell no, man. That guy would kick our asses. Hell yes, he would, man. That guy's huge. I bet he got that big by moving those giant 9-foot speakers around. Yeah, they are enormous. My girlfriend always said that big guys with big muscles that had these big things and big toys was always because they were trying to compensate for something. Interesting. Your girlfriend said that? Yeah. And where is your girlfriend now? She left me for a guy with smaller speakers. Cheers, bro. So I got a pair of the Silver 10s. These right here. They're also made by Lisong, just like the F15s that I have, just like the Fast 8s. The Silver 10s, when I experienced them in the Origin S10, the big closed box, also made by Lisong, so but it's a full speaker. And the quality of the mid-range that comes from this driver, if this driver is able to perform the way it should, is intoxicating. I mean, check out Andrew Robinson's review if you want to get another opinion on the Silver 10. He reviewed the Origin S10s from Lisong. Check out his review, see what he says about it. When he mentions, when you have them positioned in a room, and he says, when you get that right toe in, it's like a switch goes on. And I agree. These drivers have such a presence in the mids, it just raises the hairs on the back of your neck, which is, I think, what we all would want. Andrew's clean, man. Clean? Like his face, his beard. Ah. Yeah, he's well groomed. His videos are very high quality. And I thought it was really cool when he started including his wife in a creative way in his videos. You know the rumor behind that, right? Rumor. Here we go. Man, I heard that he does the voice of his wife character behind the scenes, man. What the hell are you saying? Listen, man, I'm telling you. You mean like in post-editing? The girl's voice is him, man. Like he does it. Like in a studio? Yeah, man. There is no wife. It's like just him. That's ridiculous. No, man. He's like really good at doing voices. Yeah. But these have a problem, because I've seen them also used in the Leonidas Extreme. But in the Leonidas Extreme open baffle, at them being positioned, they're being used with the W15 driver, which I have, which is in the corners of my room, and they are positioned that way so that the corner of my room serves as bass horns. When they're paired in the Leonidas, I think they were crossed over around 300 hertz. So the issue I had was one of by using this driver, I knew right away that I didn't want to have these crossed over at 300 hertz. And I think the reason for that was because their QTS value is different than the Fast 8 and very different than the F15. So I was like, okay. The fact that it's on an angle as opposed to standing up. Being on an angle, right away you have a lot less issues when it comes to the wave cancellation from the back of the baffle to the front, because the wave is already hitting the ground. And for this design to work in my room, I have to put a type of absorption, whether it's a pillow, a mat, something that absorbs a little bit of the sound so that you don't get reflections coming off the wall, the ground, off of these speakers. Or if you have a nice thick carpet, that works. Because their QTS is lower, and I'm in an open baffle situation, I thought to myself, how could I still keep as much as the open baffle flavor, but also help these drivers improve their depth? So I can't put them in a full cabinet, but I want them to play as low as possible. I don't care that they would go under 100 hertz. Don't get me wrong, in the end, they do play under 100 hertz, but I think in my test tones, 75 hertz is like minus 3 dB compared to the rest. But that's great for the application that I want, that I'm using, because the W15 in the back is going to fill in the rest. So what I did was, I ended up trying a sonotube. That's right, like a typical construction sonotube that you can buy at Home Depot. These are the tubes that are usually used to make concrete pillars in the ground. So I used a 12-inch sonotube that I cut at a length of also 12 inches. So it's a 12-inch diameter, because this is a 10-inch driver. So I wanted to give a little bit of space around the driver in the back. Which, let's have a look at the back.
Is Thomas okay, man?
Yeah, why?
I don't know, man. Guy in his 60s, like, shouldn't be playing with teddy bears, man.
You need to stop drinking. Thomas doesn't play with teddy bears.
Yeah, he does, man. He does. Look.
Oh. He's just using that to visualize what he's trying to describe.
Whatever, man. I bet he's a secret teddy bear celiac or something.
All right, have a look. Look how ugly this is. It's ugly, but it's okay. This is still a beta version. What I mean by beta version, why it's not nicely finished, why it's not nicely done, it's because in the DIY realm, you want to first nail the shape, the sound, before you invest in making things look pretty. So I'm still in the phase where I'm going to make sure that this works. So as you can see, where the driver is, I have this 12-inch sonotube, just a sonotube, which is secured with brackets and these little clamps. And I also added some silicone, well, caulking basically, to seal it so that the cylinder is as sealed as possible to the baffle. And if you look inside, you see the driver. Now, this, from what I could tell, is creating a type of resonance chamber, but it's not closed. It's still open, so there is still frequencies that come out the back, but they're not coming out right here. So they're not creating that figure eight wave where you'd have. So you have a wave coming up the front, and waves coming off the back. Now the waves are starting down here, and this little resonance chamber. I'll tell you guys, I tried with and without. Without it, the silver 10 driver sitting alone in this baffle, in this configuration, just without this, the cylinder, would be playing around 250 hertz-ish. I brought it down a little bit more than that because these baffles on the first version were bigger. They were bigger than those even. So I was going down maybe to 190 with the super big baffles, but it's just not feasible to use a big baffle of that size in a room because like the baffle was almost 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall. Like you can't move that around. It's just, it didn't work. But when I add this, whoa, now the silver 10 driver plays pretty flat to 100 hertz. It's around 110 actually. It's pretty flat. Speaking of measurements, Aaron. Ever watch Aaron's Audio Corner? Dude, that guy's like the genius of hi-fi on YouTube.
That guy showed Elon Musk how rockets work, man.
Don't know about that, but Aaron makes sense of measurements to what he hears and how those measurements translate to what we interpret.
I guess. But how can you trust a guy that's got sponsors, man?
Aaron's not sponsored.
Yeah, he is. Tecton, bro.
Tecton doesn't sponsor Aaron. Quite the opposite, actually.
Nah, man. I think that was a Tecton marketing stunt, man. So the Tecton could sell more speakers.
Oh, dude. That's the last time I bring you on this show.
Why?
Oh, we're gonna get sued. Yeah, and if you were following my Patreon page, I posted the tests that I did using different lengths of tubes. I tried a 12-inch, I tried an 18, and I tried a 27-inch cylinder behind this to see how it influenced the drivers. And that's how I got my confirmation to say that there is potential that this would work. So if I were to increase the length of this, it would bring the frequency response of the Silver 10 driver even lower at a higher SPL. But I don't need it to go much lower. I was very happy at 110, 125 because these guys can fill in the rest. These guys right there, the W15, probably non-focus, but anyways. So that's the logic. I mean, obviously in the finished version, what I would need to do is I would need, because let me tell you, getting a speaker cable to connect to those things on the inside there is a pain in the ass. So I would be creating 2 sealed holes where connections would come out to a set of speaker jacks that would be somewhere in the back here. And also, the other thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to increase the rigidity of this because at very high volumes right now, I do feel a little bit of vibrations. And, you know, I mean, this is all junk. This is just so it holds together. One of the things I'm debating is to redo this with a very thick natural solid wood. That's an option. Or have a 3/4 inch MDF top that I would then mold a 1.5 inch, or maybe 1.5 is too much, but anyways, let's say between 1.5 and 1/2 inch layer of concrete that would also wrap around this thing and the back. I'd have to do the mesh, I'd have to do the whole mold and everything. It would be a big job, but it would, that combined with the MDF on the front, that the MDF I would just turn it into a high gloss finish, I think would look pretty cool. Okay, so what do they sound like? They sound fantastic. They sound exactly like I expected or hoped that they would sound. I'm getting the back of my neck hair is climbing up because of the mid-range like I wanted. It is sparkly, it is airy. The soundstage is massive. I forget the name of the track. I think it's Sirens by Monolink. Anyways, I'll post it here and while I'm editing the video. It's not coming to my mind. So that track, at one point in the track, it's I think about halfway through the track. I'll put the exact timestamp here. It feels like the song is playing, but it's playing like you're in this shell and someone is putting these dumping planks or something on top of the shell. I even got fooled the first time this happened with these things. I'm listening to this track and then I hear the planks and I know the planks are there, but I'm looking up. The planks I felt were above my head. So you know that Roger Waters album that has that track Laid Home Tonight Part 1, it's a great soundstage test because you get to know exactly what to listen to make sure your soundstage is accurate. That water drop at the beginning that feels like it's on the back of your shoulder. This is a similar track. It's a point of reference, but it was to tell me that there were items up on the top. But with previous open baffle speakers, they were never on top of my head. So not many times have I ever witnessed that a soundstage would have items not just in front, not just in the back, not far deep in the way back, not over big to the sides, or on the edges or behind me, but now above my head. Like I had a 7.1 Dolby Atmos system just with these. Recently, there's a friend of mine locally here that reached out to me, and he had been working on his system for years. He's going down a similar route that I did. So he's building his own speakers. He's going the open baffle route, but he's using a 18-inch bass driver in the baffle, and he's using a set of an Omni driver at the top, like a 360-degree Omni driver from German Physics. Anyways, you'll see the system in a second. So he reached out to me once his speakers were built, and he started doing some listening tests with the equipment that he had. So he had a few questions. He wasn't sure how to adjust a few things, and was struggling a little bit with his crossover. So I went over on I don't know, I think it was like a month ago. Helped him out with that. We figured out the crossover together, and I brought my Crown amp that I was using for my bass drivers to see which ones work better, his current Class D monoblocks versus this one, just for him to have an idea. So we got it sounding pretty good. It sounded, actually sounded great. The one thing though is his room has no form of treatment yet. Like he has not built anything. It's not ready yet. Like he wanted to get his system as much as built first, and then would start attacking the acoustics in his room. So the second time I went over, it was to address the question, because he wasn't sure. He was like, so I have a preamp. I have this little topping preamp that I got on Amazon. I'm like, okay, that's cool. He says, and I also have this little topping DAC also that I bought on Amazon, but it was like $100. I said, okay, well, those two things are definitely not bringing out the best of your Butler amplifier, and certainly not bringing out the best of your German Physics drivers. On top of that, you're in a room that's not treated. I'm like, man, you haven't even tasted the potential of your system yet. So he says, well, it brings me to what I'd like from you. I said, what is it? He said, could you bring your preamp and bring your DAC? Absolutely. Open baffle speakers, 18-inch bass drivers, omnidirectional mids and highs using German Physics drivers. Good luck finding those individually these days. Here to answer a question, where does he invest the next step in his system? Does he invest in a preamp? Does he invest in a DAC? Or both? Today, he's using a topping preamp. I think it's also a topping DAC as well. A room server for his streamer. He uses an active crossover to biamp his speakers. So what we're first going to do is we're going to sit down, we're going to listen to the system as is using the topping preamp and the topping DAC, just set ourselves a baseline. And after that, we are probably going to plug in my preamp. I brought the Melody preamp. I also brought my DAC. We also have an hifi DAC to test. We also have a Sonics Frontiers DAC that we're going to test. And if we have time, we'll see how a DDC makes a difference. We just don't want to get too overwhelmed. But yeah, so now we're going to sit down and get a baseline. The hifi DAC is better than the topping. Where does he invest the next step in his system? Does he invest in a preamp? Does he invest in a DAC? Or both? It depends.
Of course, man. Can't even get a straight answer out of you audio nerds.
Well, in this case, the preamp wasn't bad. So when we compared all the DACs, we heard the differences between each of them.
Boom! So upgrade the DAC first.
In this case, yes, because he had a $100 DAC, and I think that having a better DAC, say like something in the $1,000 range, will level up his sound by several notches.
So your preamp sucked then?
No. When we used my preamp, the jump in performance between each DAC was even greater, as now the preamp was allowing for more information to be heard and provided, I think, a much better output to the amplifier.
What does that mean, man? What were the differences between each DACs?
Each DAC improvements added a little bit more detail, better bass, deeper soundstage.
With both preamps?
Yes, but with my preamp, you also got a sense of size. You got spaciousness between the instruments. Remember Thomas playing with the teddy bears?
Haha, yeah.
Well, he was saying that when the sound levels up, like it did with my preamp, the instruments didn't feel flat, but they felt fleshed out. They felt three-dimensional.
Got it, man. So why not get a preamp first then?
So this is where it depends. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg thing. It depends what you have as a DAC already and what preamp you already have. If you have a very cheap preamp, getting an expensive DAC will feel like diminishing returns because the preamp will be a bottleneck between the performance of your DAC and the rest of the system.
I'm getting hungry, man. We've been like drinking all day.
Let me finish. But getting an expensive preamp with a bad DAC can still improve things, as a good preamp on its own can significantly improve how your amplifier performs and thus how your speaker does.
Okay, man, so if you already have a decent DAC, but you have a mediocre preamp, invest in a preamp.
Yes, a preamp will follow your system for much longer. Sorry, but a good preamp will last in your system longer.
And if you already have an awesome preamp, then get a quality DAC. One that you can afford. Easy, man.
Yes, if you have a quality preamp already, you will have a lot less possibilities of it being a bottleneck between your DAC and your amp. Harley Lovegrove. Yes. How best to describe him? And his YouTube channel. Well, don't take this the wrong way, but he is one sexy mother.
Nice, man. So we done?
I think we are.
All right, don't forget to subscribe and make sure you all click the like button, you bunch of audio nerds. Ha.